Heartwarming journey, discover 5 incredible acts of kindness that transform jealousy into love. In the small town of Cedar Grove, where the scent of fresh apple pie wafts through the air every Sunday evening, life unfolded like the petals of a blooming flower. Lucy, a 35-year-old waitress at the local diner, was everyone's beacon of hope. With sparkling eyes and a warm laugh, she juggled her work, her 8-year-old daughter Emma, and her 10-year-old son Sam with an effortless grace that made it seem like she could take on the world. Each day, her resilience shone through her meager paycheck, reminding her regulars of the simple joys of life. Across the street lived Joe, a once-renowned businessman whose empire had crumbled, leaving him with only memories of better days. He would sit alone, watching Lucy bring laughter and smiles to her children. It gnawed at him, this bitterness, as he reflected on his own losses. The jealousy simmered about how she seemed to thrive, while he felt trapped in a fading echo of his former self. The sight of Lucy making the most of her little world cut deeper than he wanted to admit. One bright afternoon, during a community barbecue, the unthinkable happened. Emma and Sam found common ground with Joe's lonely teenage daughter, Allison, and more absurdly, laughter spilled over the fence that separated their families. Joe felt a pang of frustration and envy stir within him. How could Lucy's children find joy in a crumbling home? But Lucy, with her radar finely tuned to the emotions of those around her, sensed something deeper behind Joe's hardened exterior. The next day, she baked cookies, warm, gooey chocolate chip cookies, and brought them over to Joe. "Thought you might like some," she smiled, her kindness an unintentional challenge to his pride. He was taken aback. "Thanks," he muttered, surprised by her friendliness. It felt like a first step, a chink in the armor he wore so tightly. Over the following weeks, Lucy continued her small acts of kindness. She invited Joe to family get-togethers, shared simple meals during community events, and slowly, she bridged the gap he had built. With each interaction, she reminded him of what it was like to feel hopeful. The loneliness that engulfed him ebbed away bit by bit, as memories of summer barbecues and laughter danced back into his heart. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the annual Cedar Grove Harvest Festival approached, the air buzzed with excitement and apprehension. It was a beloved tradition, but whispers of judgment played beneath the laughter. When a rivalry flared during the festival, Julie found herself standing between two factions of the community, the tensions crackling in the air. Joe watched as Lucy, under pressure, remained poised, her spirit steadfast. At that moment, everything hung in the balance. Would they dissolve into their old judgments, or could they learn to see through each other's eyes? The crowd held its breath, waiting for the spark that could ignite either unity or division, as Lucy's warmth collided with Joe's skepticism. Would Lucy's acts of kindness be enough to break the barriers of resentment and transform their lives forever? The harvest moon rose high above, illuminating the defining moment on the brink of change. The flickering lights strung across the town square glimmered like stars against the deepening dusk. The aroma of caramel apples and roasted corn filled the air, wrapping around each visitor like a warm embrace. Kids dashed between booths, laughter echoing as families gathered under the glow of the harvest moon. Yet, for Lucy and Joe, the atmosphere was charged with an unspoken tension. Standing near the pie-eating contest, Joe's heart raced. He wasn't just a bystander this time, he felt the call to step up. Lucy, animated as she cheered on Emma and Sam, looked over at him and smiled. That simple gesture ignited something within Joe. He was tired of being a shadow in his own life. He stepped closer. "Hey, Lucy," he called out, his voice breaking slightly under the weight of anticipation. Her smile widened, illuminating her face more than the twinkling lights. "Joe. Are you joining the contest?" she teased, playful yet inviting. "I was thinking," he hesitated, the nervousness creeping back. "About what you said last week. About community and what it means to come together. The words felt strange as they rolled off his tongue. Lucy nodded, encouraging him to continue. And maybe I can help? Joe gestured toward the gathering crowd, the remnant of his former self rising to the surface. Memories of organizing corporate events came flooding back, how he thrived on teamwork and cooperation. His voice steadied. I could lend a hand with the festival. Help organize or something. If you think it's okay. Her eyes sparkled with surprise and joy. Really? That would be wonderful. I'd love to have your help. In that moment, Joe felt lighter, like chains had been lifted from his heart. He wasn't just looking in from the outside anymore, he was stepping into the warmth of connection. As the evening progressed, they worked side by side, Joe's expertise blending with Lucy's community spirit. Together, they orchestrated games and organized booths. People began to notice, murmurs of admiration rose in the crowd. The way Joe laughed with Lucy, how he lightened the mood with little jokes, dismantled some of the old notions that had clung to him like cobwebs. The pie-eating contest began, and in a heartbeat, the competition morphing into gleeful chaos. Lucy's children were laughing, wiping whipped cream from their faces, while Joe found himself drawn into the contagious joy. For the first time in ages, his laughter rang clear and unrestrained, blending with the happiness surrounding him. But just as the night reached its peak, old tensions reared their ugly heads. A group of townsfolk whispered nearby, casting judgmental glances at Joe, their faces etched with disbelief that he could belong again. Lucy, her instincts sharp, sensed Joe's shift in demeanor. His smile faltered, that weight of resentment creeping back. She stepped closer, placing a gentle hand on his arm, grounding him. They'll come around, Joe. Just give it time, she assured him softly, her eyes full of understanding, but Joe's heart raced with uncertainty. Could he truly shake off the chains of his past? Just as he prepared to respond, a loud crash interrupted the moment. A table toppled over, sending decorations flying and laughter into panic. Lucy turned to see who might be hurt, but Joe fell deeper into his thoughts. What would it take to fully emerge from the shadows? Maybe he didn't have all the answers yet, but something was blooming inside him. As he picked up his head, he glanced around the festival, a sense of determination flickering within him. Could this be the start of a new beginning? But just as hope sparked, the lights began to flicker ominously. Joe's stomach dropped at a new realization. What if not everyone wanted to embrace this change? Would the past hold them back, or could they surge forward together? The flickering lights dimmed even more, casting long shadows across the square. People rushed to the noise of the fallen table, but for Joe, the laughter of the night evaporated. He felt exposed under the judgmental gazes from the townsfolk. The echoes of their whispers wrapped around him like an icy grip. As Lucy moved through the crowd, helping to tidy up, Joe remained rooted, trapped in his swirling thoughts. What if this moment ruined everything? What if they only saw him as the guy who never quite fit in, the one with a past that lingered like a cloud overhead? He squeezed his eyes shut, trying to block out the stares. Hey, Joe. A familiar voice broke through his haze. It was Emma, Lucy's daughter, eyes wide and concerned. Are you okay? He took a deep breath, both to steady himself and to push the weight of uncertainty down. Yeah, just thinking, he said, forcing a smile that felt heavy. Come on, we need more help. Let us go. Her infectious enthusiasm tugged at him, and he nodded, allowing the adrenaline of the festival to sweep him along. They joined the crowd that was now restoring the booth. As Joe helped to repack the toppled decorations, he felt somewhat renewed, momentarily lost in Emma's spirited chatter. But the brief reprieve faded when he saw those judgmental eyes again, whispering behind cupped hands. Just then, Lucy returned, her hair slightly disheveled from the chaos, but her face radiated warmth. Everything under control? She asked him, her soothing voice breaking through the tension. Yeah, just a little bump in the road, Joe replied, thankful for her presence. She sensed the heaviness still lingering around him. Let us take a break, she suggested, leading him away from the crowd to a quieter corner near the punch booth. The night was still alive with music, but here, they were cocooned in a moment of calm. As they stood together, Lucy's gaze fell on Joe's hands, which were now coated in a mixture of whipped cream and laughter. "You jumped right in there. I think you may have a future in event planning after all," she teased gently, trying to lift the weight from his shoulders. He chuckled, but it felt half-hearted. I don't want to bring everything down again." Lucy cut him off, her voice firm yet gentle. "You don't have to carry all that alone. We're a community, and that means supporting each other, flaws and all. Dust off the past, Joe. Let it go." Her words wrapped around him like a warm blanket. But deep within, uncertainty bubbled. What if they never see me as part of this community? What if it's always just whispers and sidelong glances? His throat tightened. "They will," she affirmed, a sparkle in her eyes reflecting the harvest moon. "But you have to let them. Show them who you really are. You started tonight, don't stop now." He glanced at her, doubt mixing with hope. What if this was just a fluke, an illusion of belonging? "Then we'll create something real together, Joe." "One step at a time," she replied, and with that, she placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. Joe's heart warmed at her unwavering support. Lucy's faith in him ignited a flicker of belief, urging him to fight against the shadows of the past. Maybe this was the turning point he needed, a chance not just to be seen but to truly belong. Suddenly, a burly man approached, a familiar face from the festival committee. "Hey, Joe. We could use your help in setting up the final act. Lucy says you've got some talent for this." Tension knotted in Joe's stomach. Was this an invitation or a test? He looked to Lucy, who nodded encouragingly. "Sure, I'd love to help," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. The knot began to loosen, replaced with a cautious sense of purpose. As they headed back toward the stage area, a newfound determination took root in his heart. Each step felt heavier yet hopeful. Could he truly reshape the way he was viewed? Or would the shadow still loom over him? Tonight was far from over. The festival sparkled with something brighter than just lights. It held the promise of acceptance, but at what cost? With the stage set for a grand finale, something unexpected stirred within Joe. What secrets did the night hold? Would he rise or retreat into the shadows once more? As they approached the stage, the upbeat music pulsed around them, and the crowd's excitement began to feel infectious. Joe could hear the laughter and chatter rising again, and as much as he tried to focus on the task at hand, his mind kept flickering back to the moment when he had stumbled in front of everyone. "Let us set up these lights," the burly man said, already busy arranging cables scattered across the ground. Joe knelt to help, feeling the cool metal in his hands. "What's the plan, Joe?" the man asked, glancing back at him. "I heard you've got some good ideas." Joe felt the eyes of the crowd once more, but instead of overwhelming him, it felt like a challenge. "I think we should try to add some color to the backdrop. It should reflect the spirit of the festival," he replied, surprising even himself with the confidence in his voice. "Great idea." The man smiled widely. "Let us do it." As they worked side by side, Joe felt the tension dissolve a little more with each passing moment. He tried to shake off his worries and let his excitement about creating something take over. An exhilarating adrenaline buzz thrummed through him. "Rick," the man introduced himself. "Glad to have you aboard. You're fitting in well already." Stifling a laugh, Joe replied, "Let us hope it stays that way." They climbed onto the raised platform, setting up the lights with a rhythmic cadence that matched the music below. The more they worked, the more he noticed the townsfolk looking over, their whispers becoming softer, replaced by nods of acknowledgement. "See?" Lucy's voice cut through the chaos. "You already have them interested." She stood at the side, waving at him, her smile a beacon in the vibrant scene. The moment felt monumental. Joe took a breath, savoring it. Maybe this was a beginning, not a fluke, but a step towards something solid. As he fastened another light, he heard footsteps behind him. He turned around to see a group of familiar faces approaching, a few people who had held back during the earlier chaos. They hesitated, glancing at each other before stepping closer. "Hey, Joe." One of them called out. It was Mia, a girl he remembered from school. "We're glad you're on the committee now. It's awesome to see you getting involved." "Yeah," chimed in another. "We could always use more creativity. It brings the whole event together." Each word wrapped around him, each smile a soothing balm. He felt a warm flush spread across his cheeks. "Thanks, guys. I just wanted to be part of something good," he admitted, his voice shaky but genuine. Lucy watched from a distance, pride shining in her eyes. The whispers faded, replaced by laughter and shared stories as Joe allowed himself to engage, his nervousness slipping into the background. Just as it seemed everything was falling into place, the music shifted into something softer, a hopeful tune that beckoned the crowd to gather closer. Joe exchanged glances with Lucy. She nodded again, urging him forward. "Looks like it's time for the final act," Rick shouted, clapping Joe on the back. His heart raced as he helped set the last lights. It was over, yet it was just beginning. As the stage twinkled with a soft hue, tense anticipation hung in the air. Joe couldn't escape the feeling that something monumental was about to unfold. Would the crowd truly welcome him, or would he find himself facing judgment again? He swallowed hard, feeling the weight of the moment. The festival wasn't just about the music or the lights, it was about connection, a connection he wasn't sure he was ready to embrace fully. With the crowd gathering closer, eyes expectant, Joe took a deep breath. When he stepped back into the light, would he shine or retreat again? The moment of revelation danced just beyond reach, waiting for him to take the leap. Would he rise to meet it? The music softened further, wrapping the crowd in an ethereal embrace that felt almost magical. Joe took a step back, his heart pounding, each beat echoing in the silence between the lingering notes. He felt the eyes on him again, but this time, they didn't seem judging, more like curious. The vibrant hues of the lights bounced off the crowd, illuminating their faces, revealing expressions of wonder and anticipation. They were here for the festival, sure, but there was something more at stake for Joe. It was as if the universe aligned, giving him this moment to rise, to show who he truly was. Lucy moved closer, her energy crackling in the air. "You've got this, Joe," she called, her voice rising above the gentle hum. She had faith in him, and it made a world of difference. Joe nodded, feeling the warmth surge through him. As he stepped forward, the stage pulsed with life, the lights reflecting his shifting emotions. He took another deep breath, inhaling the scent of the fresh-cut grass and the aroma of popcorn wafting from the nearby stand. The world felt alive, electric. This was bigger than him. The gentle strumming of a guitar filled the air, signaling the final act. The crowd quieted, faces eager and expectant. Joe turned, stepping back to the side, allowing the main performers to take the stage, but he couldn't shake the sensation of being part of something monumental. He felt the camaraderie, the connection to his community grow like the roots of a tree. The music swelled as the lead singer stepped into a spotlight, their voice a bright beacon. "Let us dance tonight, everyone. Let us celebrate together." The excited clamor erupted from the crowd, hands clapping and feet tapping in rhythm with the beat. Suddenly, Mia caught his eye again. She was smiling, encouraging him to join in. Unconsciously, he began to sway, caught in the energy of the moment. People danced around him, he felt laughter bubbling in his chest, those whispers of earlier now just echoes in the background. Then he spotted Rick out of the corner of his eye, beaming with pride. "Joe, come on. Get in here," he shouted as he danced toward him, inviting the others to join. It felt like a tribe, a community pulling him in deeper. Joe laughed, the sound catching him off guard, as it seemed so foreign yet exhilarating. One step, then another, and he found himself moving, letting loose the weight of expectations that had held him back. The music, the lights, the laughter, it all melded into a beautiful symphony. He could almost feel the judgment that had loomed over him cracking, splintering into confetti that rained down. Each twirl, every beat of the drum, took him further from the fears of stumbling again. He no longer worried about how he looked or what anyone thought. He was free. As he danced, he caught Lucy's eye again, and this time, she joined him, stepping right into the fray. They laughed together, lost in the moment, as the music wrapped itself around them like a warm blanket. But just as the crowd surged more, an unanticipated crash broke through the festivities. A loud commotion erupted at the edge of the stage, and people turned, an undeniable tension slicing through the joyous atmosphere like a knife. "What's happening?" Joe wondered, anxiety creeping back in. The moment he had worked so hard to embrace suddenly felt threatened. Would this day's celebration crumble into chaos? His heart raced as he turned to see what had caused the disturbance, uncertainty clouding his mind once more. Would he stay strong in this moment too? Would the connection he felt unravel? The tension in the air was palpable. Joe's pulse quickened as he turned toward the source of the noise. The laughter and dancing faded into a murmur, morphing into a collective anxiety. He peered through the crowd, searching for the cause of the disruption. A few feet away, a young man was on the ground, looking dazed. A couple of his friends rushed to his side, their faces pale with worry. "He just fell," one of them shouted. The crowd murmured, excitement turning to concern as people flocked toward them. Joe's stomach dropped. He felt a wave of helplessness wash over him. "Stay back. Give him some space," a voice commanded, cutting through the noise. Joe could hear the concern in the voice, a hint of panic. His instincts kicked in. Without hesitation, he pushed through the throng of people, letting his feet guide him. As he drew closer, he recognized the fallen figure Tommy, a kid he'd known since childhood. They had shared countless summer barbecues, laughter echoing into the evening sky. His heart tightened. He couldn't just stand back. "Someone call 911. Joe shouted, as he knelt beside Tommy. Tommy lay still, eyes fluttering. His friends were visibly shaken, faces etched with worry. "What happened?" Joe asked urgently, his hands hovering over Tommy but not touching. "I don't know, man, he just collapsed," one of the friends replied, trembling. Joe wanted to yell at them to do something, to help him. But he needed to focus. "Tommy, can you hear me?" he said, gently gripping his shoulder. Slowly, Tommy opened his eyes. "Well, what happened?" he mumbled, blinking against the brightness of the stage lights. Relief surged through Joe. The sound of sirens wailed in the distance, piercing the anticipative chatter of the crowd. "Just hang in there. Help is coming," Joe assured him, trying to keep his voice steady, trying to mask the tremor of fear that threatened to break through. The crowd surrounded them like a tide, whispering questions, murmuring prayers. Joe looked up and caught Lucy's gaze, and he could see the same worry reflected in her eyes. She pushed her way closer. "He's going to be okay, right?" she asked, concern lining her voice. "I hope so," Joe murmured, feeling the gravity of the moment. There was something unifying in this, the chaos, the worry, and the community gathering to support one another. The paramedics finally arrived, skillful and calm. They moved in quickly, pushing the crowd back. Joe felt a weight lift as he watched them take charge. They assessed Tommy, the murmurs of relief swelling through the onlookers. As the chaos ebbed away into murmurs of reassurance, Joe stood back. Gone were the fears of judgment and self-doubt. Here, in this moment, he had acted. He had stepped beyond himself, reaching out to a friend in need. It felt good. The uncertainty that had clouded his heart began to clear. He understood now the power of empathy, how true connection could shine through even in darkness. "Joe!" Lucy exclaimed, her eyes brightening. "That was brave. You helped him." Joe let her words wash over him. It didn't matter how he danced or how he looked, actions spoke louder. He realized that he was part of something greater than himself, a community that cared, that connected in times of need. The celebration was still in the air, diminished but not lost. As Tommy was loaded onto the stretcher, he gave Joe a faint smile. "Thanks, man, for being here," he whispered before the medics hurried him off. The crowd began to disperse slowly, conversations bubbling back to life. A few of the more perceptive individuals turned to Joe, gratitude etched in their expressions, nodding in acknowledgement of his bravery. But as the echoes of laughter returned, a new thought began to circle in Joe's mind. Daring to look up at the stage, he felt that the music would eventually come back, but would this moment of vulnerability and strength change him forever? What did it mean to truly step up for those around him? The festival wasn't over yet, and neither was the night. As the evening wore on, a gentle breeze settled over the festival, brushing against Joe's cheeks. He stepped back from the scene, his heart still racing. The sound of laughter and distant music seemed to swirl around him, but it felt different, more vibrant, more alive. The tension of the past moment lingered, yet hope began to thread its way through the remnants of anxiety. "Hey, you all right?" Lucy's voice broke through his thoughts, her brow furrowed in concern. She stepped closer, searching his eyes. Her presence was soothing, grounding him back to the present. "Yeah, just thinking," Joe replied, forcing a smile. "It's just surreal, you know? One moment everything feels fine, and then it all changes in a heartbeat," she finished, her tone gentle. "But you were incredible out there. I mean, jumping in to help Tommy like that. It's not something everyone would do." Her compliment washed over him, yet it stirred something deeper within. He had acted instinctively, hadn't he thought about what it would look like or how he might be seen. He had just reacted, and it felt freeing. "Thanks, Lucy," Joe said, shifting slightly. "I guess it just hit me hard because Tommy has been part of my life for so long. I couldn't just stand by." "Exactly. And it's what community is all about," she smiled, but her eyes remained serious. "You showed that tonight." Just then, a wave of kids burst through the crowd, laughter punctuating the atmosphere. One tiny girl in a bright pink dress stumbled, tumbling to the ground. A collective gasp erupted, followed by the rush of parents running to check on their kid. But before any adult could reach her, Joe found himself moving again, instinct taking control. He knelt beside the girl, brushing some dirt from her face. "Hey there," he said softly. "You all right? That was quite a tumble." Her big, brown eyes blinked back at him, wide and teary but shining with gratitude. "I fell," she whispered, a hint of anxiety creeping into her voice. "Yeah, but you're a warrior. Look at you. You got right back up," Joe encouraged, offering her a bright smile. Slowly, her tiny lips curled up into a smile as she wiped at her cheeks with her hands. "I'm okay," she insisted bravely, her voice a bit stronger now. Lucy knelt on the other side, playing along. "Here, let me help you up," she said, gently lifting the girl's tiny hands. With a surge of laughter now coming from the girl, Joe and Lucy helped her back onto her feet. The parents of the girl finally reached them, eyes filled with mingled gratitude and concern. "Thank you so much," one of them said, relief flooding their voice as they cradled their daughter close. As the family returned to their circle of joy, Joe felt a swell of connection within himself. Not only had he helped Tommy tonight, but in this moment, he had brightened a little girl's world, too. It hit him then that kindness had a ripple effect. Something small could turn into something beautiful. He turned to Lucy, her forehead glistening under the festival lights, her eyes sparkling with a shared sense of purpose. "Maybe there's something about tonight that's bigger than we thought," he said, contemplating how moments like these could alter lives, could plant seeds of love in places overshadowed by jealousy or fear. "Yeah," she agreed, her voice earnest. "Kindness changes everything." As they stood together, a thought brewed in Joe's mind, a challenge, a possibility. He needed to explore this idea more deeply, not just tonight but in his life beyond the festival. What if they organized something bigger, a way to bring the kindness they'd experienced into the community more? Would people be willing to join that journey? The music pulsed through the air again, louder now, beckoning them to the dance floor. As they moved toward the rhythm, Joe felt excitement intermingled with his resolve. He wanted to inspire changes, to touch more hearts. But would he have the courage to pursue it? Would the festival, with all its chaotic joy, be the catalyst for something even greater? The beat of the music pulsed around Joe and Lucy as they stepped onto the dance floor, the lights casting a warm glow over people swaying with pure joy. But even as he moved to the rhythm, Joe's mind was racing. What would it take to turn the idea of kindness into action? The thought bounced around in his head, louder than the music, urging him forward. "Joe, you're quiet again." Lucy called over the thrumming bass, her smile ever present. "You okay?" He shrugged, a soft laugh escaping his lips. "Just thinking about what to do next. Like, how do we make kindness a thing in this town? I mean, really make it happen." Lucy tilted her head, eyes sparkling with interest. "Do you really want to go for it? Like, start an initiative? That could change so much." Her excitement was contagious, and before he knew it, Joe was nodding eagerly. "Yeah. I mean, why not? We just saw how something so small could make a difference. What if everyone in this town got involved? Imagine the impact." "Okay, so what is the first step?" she asked, the challenge sparking in her eyes. "Let us talk to Tommy," Joe suggested, glancing over to where his friend was still surrounded by family, wearing a big celebratory grin. "He's got that big heart, and he knows people. If we can get him on board, then maybe we can get the entire neighborhood inspired." As they walked toward him, the thumping music faded into the background, the anticipation building inside Joe. Tommy stood there, the laughter of friends and family ringing around him. It felt like the perfect moment to pull him into their idea. "Tommy!" Lucy called out as they approached. The crowd parted, revealing the glint of excitement in Tommy's eyes. "Hey, guys! What's up?" He beamed, his face alight with the joy of the festival. "Listen," Joe started, his heart pounding with both nerves and enthusiasm, "we were just talking about how to keep the kindness going. You inspired me tonight with how you've always been there for everyone. What if we started something together, some kind of community initiative that spreads kindness?" Tommy's gaze widened, the energy from the evening filling him. "Are you serious? I love that idea. But how would it work?" "We could have events," Lucy chimed in, her hands waving with excitement. "Like neighborhood cleanups, helping families in need, or even organizing food drives for the local shelter." "Yeah. And we could connect with schools too," Joe added quickly, the vision shaping more clearly in his mind. "Get kids involved. Teach them how small acts can have a huge impact." Tommy glanced at them, a mix of surprise and inspiration reflected on his face. "I think that's amazing. We not only lift each other up, but we could change how our whole town feels about itself." As they dove deeper into their conversation, Joe's heart soared. The night transformed into a brainstorm of energy and ideas, laughter echoing amongst them like music. It was electric. It felt alive, yet, as they planned, a voice deep within Joe whispered reminders of doubt and fear. Change could be difficult. What if no one wanted to join? What if it all fell flat? Are we kidding ourselves? He thought, unease creeping back momentarily. But Lucy's laughter rang in his ear, reminding him of the little girl in the pink dress. Every moment of kindness added up, every ripple could create waves. "Okay, let us do it," he declared, newfound determination flooding his veins. "Let us make our first meeting happen next week. Who knows what happens if we reach out?" As they cheered, the festival lights twinkled around them like stars, the energy buzzing with possibilities. In that powerful moment, Joe understood they were standing on the threshold of something big, something that could unite their community in ways they hadn't imagined. What if the hearts they touched could turn the tides of jealousy into a tide of love? The thought hung tantalizingly in the air. Was he ready to lead them all into that journey? What could those first steps mean for everyone involved? The following week arrived fast, buzzing with excitement and anxiety. Joe felt every heartbeat in his chest as he paced in his living room, glancing at the clock. It was time for their first official meeting about the kindness initiative. Would anyone come? "Hey, don't overthink it," Lucy said, walking in with a stack of flyers. Her confidence seemed to light up the dim room. "We've done our part. The rest is up to the community." He nodded, though doubt clawed at him. What if no one showed up? After all, they had never done anything like this before. Was a small idea about kindness really enough to spark interest? As they arrived at the small community center, a drizzle began to patter against the windows, adding to the cozy yet nerve-wracking atmosphere inside. Folding tables were set up in a circle, the chairs waiting as if they were for an audience at a play that never quite got its opening night. "Okay, let us just breathe," Lucy said, her laughter echoing against the walls, easing some of Joe's tension. "We will make it happen, no matter who shows up." Just then, the door creaked open, and in walked Tommy, big smile on his face, shaking off droplets like a puppy out of the rain. Behind him came a handful of familiar faces from the neighborhood, neighbors, friends, and even a few curious newcomers. Joe's heart swelled with gratitude. "Wow, look at this!" Tommy exclaimed, holding up a flyer proudly. "This is awesome, guys. People are really interested." Slowly, the room filled with warmth as everyone settled in, but Joe still felt a flutter of nervousness. The energy was palpable. Would he be able to captivate them? "All right, everyone," he began, his voice trembling just a bit. "Thank you all for coming. We're here because we share a common vision to spread kindness in our community. It's about connecting, helping each other, and making a real change." The room echoed with murmurs of agreement, and Joe felt his confidence build. Lucy chimed in next. "We have some great ideas to share, but we also want to hear yours. Let us brainstorm ways we can start simple acts of kindness, whatever comes to mind." Ideas flowed like water. Neighborhood cleanups transformed into a park picnic with the local kids, while another suggestion morphed into the creation of care packages for those in need. Each idea brightened Joe's heart, filling him with hope for what was to come. They were not alone in this journey. He could feel everyone's energy weaving together in a beautiful tapestry of community spirit. But amid the laughter and creativity, he noticed a couple of faces in the back, their skepticism weighing heavily in the air. He appreciated their honesty, yet their resistance still pricked at his thoughts like a thorn. Would they be able to convince everyone else that kindness mattered? "Okay," Joe said, rallying himself. "We might face challenges. Not everyone will be ready to jump on board. But if we stick together, even the smallest acts can create waves of change." He leaned in, voice steady. "Let us lift each other up with our actions, inspire those who are cautious, and show them what it truly means to care." There was a flicker of hope in the room, eyes dancing with light, but little did he know, a darker story was brewing in the shadows. Some souls were not so easily swayed. There were whispers of doubt that would threaten to undermine the kindness initiative. Was their dream powerful enough to weather the storm ahead? How would they fight against the rising tide of negativity in their town? The dance had only begun. As the first meeting wrapped up, the air buzzed with excitement and a touch of uncertainty. People were gathering their belongings, chatting animatedly about ideas, but Joe knew that the journey ahead wouldn't be easy. He expected pushback and doubt. Yet, in the depths of his heart, something meaningful had begun, a community rallying around kindness. Like petals forming a flower over the next few weeks, they launched small initiatives. A neighborhood cleanup turned into a festive block party. Kids colored posters to encourage involvement. Families donated to the community pantry, and smiles spread like wildfire through Cedar Grove. But even amidst this joy, not everyone was on board. Joe felt the prickle of discontent from a small faction that dismissed their efforts as naive. One quiet afternoon, while helping Lucy organize a food drive outside the diner, he overheard snatches of conversation that cut deeper than he expected. "It's just a phase, it won't last," muttered a woman as she walked past them, shaking her head in disbelief. Joe's heart sank. He turned to Lucy, whose bright demeanor faltered for just a moment. "Let us not focus on them, Joe," she urged, her voice steady. "We're making a difference, and that's what matters." It was true. Despite the comments, they kept pushing forward. Each small victory fueled their vision. But Joe realized he had to confront the doubts head-on. So, he called the next community meeting, feeling the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. The night arrived. The community center was dim, and a chill of apprehension hung in the air. But Joe stepped up, a rush of adrenaline giving him courage. Thank you all for coming again, he began, his voice stronger than he felt. I know some people are skeptical about our efforts. A ripple of murmurs washed through the crowd. But kindness can't be just a trend. It's about commitment. Then, he spotted Tommy in the back, his face lined with concern. We've done good work, but it's time to talk about the resistance. We can't let negativity win. We need to invite those voices to our table, not shun them. Let us show them who we are through our actions. As he spoke, Lucy's eyes sparkled with encouragement. We have to lead by example, Joe continued. Let us open the floor. Who here has ideas on how we can reach those who are still unsure? Hands raised hesitantly at first, then with growing enthusiasm. Suddenly, ideas flowed like a river. They planned community dialogues, open forums where people could share their concerns without fear of judgment. They brainstormed a day of appreciation to invite those hesitant neighbors for fun activities, showcasing the spirit of community through laughter and connection. It felt like a collective awakening. Joe could see the spark reigniting in others' eyes. They were not just participants in a trend, they were the seeds for future change. Weeks later, Cedar Grove's community-wide Day of Appreciation arrived. The town square blossomed with love, colorful banners hung above, children played games, and laughter rang out harmoniously. It was a scene that made Joe's heart swell. Would this be enough to bridge the gap? Then, as afternoon turned to evening, the community potluck began. As people shared food and stories, the warmth enveloped everyone like a comforting embrace. Joe caught sight of that woman who had dismissed their efforts. She stood at a distance, arms crossed, yet her gaze softened as she witnessed neighborly connections blossoming. Joe approached her, ready for whatever might come. Hey, I just wanted to invite you to share your thoughts, he said, sincerity flooding his voice. We want to make Cedar Grove better for everyone. Her facade of skepticism cracked just slightly. It just seems so, Rosie, she admitted, like you're ignoring the real problems. We're not dismissing them, he replied. We're trying to build a foundation to address them together. It's about unity. They stood together as music filled the square, a bridge forming between them. When she finally smiled, it felt like a small victory worth celebrating. As the twilight set in and laughter bounced against the night sky, people began to dance. Joe joined a circle of friends, crafting moments of connection. He caught Lucy's eye, her beaming smile radiating warmth. Look at this. She cheered, pulling him closer into the laughter. As they swayed together, he realized they were transforming jealousy into love, skepticism into hope. Kindness had indeed become a movement, more than just a phase, but a pivot towards something extraordinary. But even in this triumphant moment, he felt waves of unfinished business. The journey wasn't over. Seeds of kindness were planted, but the future held challenges yet undiscovered. Deep down, he knew they had stirred a change, but it was only the beginning. Tomorrow, let us plan the next steps, Joe said to Lucy as they caught their breath. This is just the opening act. We've got a whole program ahead. Absolutely, she said, hope twinkling in her eyes. Let us go bigger. Onward to kindness. As music carried into the cool night air, they danced, filled with anticipation for all that was still to come. It was no longer about just them, it was about every soul in Cedar Grove. With that thought, Joe felt grateful for the journey, how far they had come, and how far they would go. Kindness was blossoming, it was time to help it grow. And now, you need to subscribe. This is the moment to show your support for our next heartwarming journey. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, every like counts. Comment below your feelings about this story and share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second, let us spread the kindness together.